Police officers, don't move. Do you have any identification?
Yeah.
This what you're looking for, Griffith?
Where'd you find it?
Next to the broken body of a young girl.
Excuse me, sir. Police Chief Patterson wishes to speak with Mr. Duncan.
Let's take it on the speakerphone.
Yes.
Elmo, Patterson.
What is it, Tim?
Sorry to bother you, Mr. Duncan. About an hour ago, we logged a brutal 907. Rape victim, a 19-year-old Caucasian, Miss Sherry Moore, admitted county hospital in a coma. There's some big game involved.
Who is it?
Frank Griffith's son.
Frank Griffith. Name means nothing to me.
Frank Griffith handles all of Mr. Yerke's advertising. He's also one of the party's biggest contributors.
That's the one. The boy denied raping the girl. He also pleads innocent to injuring her.
Any evidence to indicate the boy was lying?
Now, let me look at the sheet. A wallet, $23 in cash, 3 textbooks in the trunk of his car, a 4th book under the spare tire. And coincidentally, it was the same dirty book involved in that bookseller arrest this morning, the 7 Minutes.
Elmo, tell him goodbye. Son of a bitch, we've got our case.
Tim, we'll discuss this in the morning.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan.
What do you mean we've got our case?
Baby dolls, shut off that damn radio.
Can't the next senator from the state of California figure this one out for himself? It's very simple. Frank Griffith's son, a poor kid with a normal sex urge. And they're trying to pin him with breaking and entering.
Maybe the kid is innocent.
Who gives a goddamn? But you know who's responsible? The real criminal? It's that dirty, slimy book, The 7 Minutes, that incited a decent kid from a good family to commit felonious rape.
Yeah, but Luther...
Elmo, we finally got hold of the big issue we've been looking for. Barman, get the car.
Go.
Blair, call Frank Griffith. Tell him we just heard about his trouble, and we're on our way to help him in any way we can.
He is still innocent until proved guilty in a court of law. What I'm really saying is that the law still gives us certain options.
Are you saying he can still plead not guilty?
Frank, let him finish.
If he pleads not guilty, the case will be placed on the court calendar for trial. If he pleads guilty, the sentence could be anywhere from 15 years to life.
What good's all this? I already told the cops what I did. She hurt herself.
Quiet. Don't interrupt.
I agree that as things stand, a not guilty plea would not only be dishonest, but futile. Trial a waste of time. Now consider this. Behind closed doors, our district attorney could have a great influence with the judge who was to pass sentence after a plea of guilty for rape.
But I didn't rape her.
The book's the criminal, not the boy. If the 7 Minutes hadn't been available, Jerry would have never committed the crime.
I see. I see. He was temporarily inflamed by that book. He was victimized. Now, we'll need time to let this concept sink into the public mind in order to create an atmosphere much more favorable to Jerry.
Doesn't anything I say mean a damn?
Considering Jerry's condition, I would offer as a defense that he was not legally sane when he allegedly committed the crime. And to accomplish this, we'll need the services of a top psychiatrist. I would suggest Dr. Roger Trimble.
I won't let any head shrinker pick my brain apart. I'm not crazy.
Louis Polk knows the law. If he says you're seeing a psychiatrist will help you with a judge, it makes sense to do just that. Jerry!
Let your niece calm him down.
Jerry!
Maggie,
I'm sure they were only trying to be helpful. In their way.
I don't want my brain picked in public.
I understand, Jerry.
I just want to be left alone.
Jerry Griffith is living proof that a dirty book can destroy a clean boy. I'm convinced we're not dealing with a mere felony, but a crime that can endanger public safety.
Like an epidemic of rape.
I was referring to your client's distribution of a menacing work of obscenity, Mr. Barrett. If you plead Ben Fremont not guilty, we will prosecute the defendant to the limit of the law. If you prefer to enter a plea of guilty, the defendant will receive the maximum punishment for his offense, a fine and 12 months in jail. No deal, Mr. Barrett.
That your last word?
Yes, Mr. Barrett. What kind of a plea do you intend to enter? Guilty or not guilty?
I'll have to consult with my client.
There can be no compromise. If you plead guilty, Fremont will go to jail for a year, and the book will be banned in the county as a starter. If the plea is not guilty, you'll have to take your gamble in court.
What really pissed me off was Duncan's attitude. Aside from being obviously hostile, he gave me that politician's holier-than-thou number. A little to the right, honey. Higher. Yeah, right there. Well, that feels good.
Michael? Are you considering turning down Dad's position to take on Sanford's case? What's wrong, darling?
I've got a late date with the 7 minutes. I promised Sanford I'd make my decision about defending the book by tomorrow morning.
And taken in its entirety and not out of context, the book is definitely not obscene.
7 minutes is a beautiful book. Oh, there's Clay Rutherford right there. He's one of the most thorough investigative attorneys I've worked with.
Mr. Rutherford.
Mr. Sanford?
I took the first plane out when Mike told me you two would take the case.
Clay has the lineup of potential witnesses. Why don't we run through them?
Our lineup is exactly one witness.
Oh, you mean so far?
No, Mr. Sanford, I mean one, period.
With the existing political climate, we're not going to find many volunteers for this cause. Tell them who we got, Clay.
Christian LaRue. His firm published the original edition of the book. Now, we've been led to believe that he considered the 7 minutes to be a work of artistic integrity.
I recall, however, that he sold the world publishing rights to an alleged pornographer named Norman C. Quant.
Any idea of his whereabouts now?
No.
Clay should be able to get a line on him. Our really big issue will be to prove that Jadway wrote the book honestly, sincerely, and with artistic integrity. That's why LaRue is so important to us.
Hello, Mr. Barrett.
Hi, Donna.
Mr. Rutherford. Sir?
We can also get some mileage out of the findings made by the President's Commission on Obscenity and Pornography. They clearly verified that so-called obscene books and motion pictures do not contribute in any way to an increase in antisocial behavior by adults or juveniles.
Looks like it's not going to be as simple as we thought it was, is it, Mike?
Regrettably, Philip, no. The case is a lot more complicated now.
I guess so. Mike, this might not be the right time to bring this up, but do you want me to stay for the trial? I'm up to here with pre-publication deals back home.
No. As a matter of fact, it might be better to keep you out of the picture entirely until we need you as a witness. One more thing to remember, gentlemen. Elmo Duncan will not be sitting on his ass.
Our critics would like to believe that the church's only interest is in morality and religion, at the sacrifice of freedom of speech. We wish to criticize only those who would abuse this freedom.
We are of the same mind, Your Eminence. We don't want to weaken freedom, but rather reinforce it by penalizing those who would corrupt it.
The church has seen fit to extend its cooperation, viewing the 7 minutes today, just as it did in the 30s, when it was first banned in the Sacred Index, as an extraordinary destructive force.
I couldn't be more pleased, Your Eminence.
I will enlighten and then help you.
Now, the police report states that they confiscated 80 copies of the 7 minutes. And the Sanford House Sales Department account shows they shipped 100 copies to this store. Those figures correct?
Uh-huh.
That means you sold 20 copies before you were arrested. Any idea who bought them?
0. I only work here days.
Have you seen the picture of Jerry Griffith in the newspaper?
His picture and mine, too.
I've got a better shot of him right here, and I want you to take a close look at this. You ever been in this store?
Not that I can recall. With all this publicity, I get phone calls every day asking if I have the book for sale. Even Rachel Hoyt, the head branch librarian for the Oakwood Library, called this morning, very uptight about this attempt to ban the 7 minutes.
Interesting.
She won't wait to order the book through channels. She wants to pick one up herself, put it on the open shelves, and have a showdown with the old bags who run the Strength Through Decency League.
Would you believe Frank Griffith telling the press that it was J.J. Jadway in the 7 minutes, not his son, who was responsible for Sherry Moore's brutal attack?
When was the last time you saw Jerry?
That was it. He sent a friend over to return the dictionary.
Do you recall his friend?
A long-haired boy, the only one I saw with Jerry more than once. I think his name was Perkins.
I hear you're a good friend of Jerry Griffith's.
Who told you that?
Head librarian at the Oakwood branch. Said she saw you with him a couple of times.
He's got wheels. He gave me a lift now and then. That's about it.
Well, I was told that you were close friends.
You were told wrong, man.
Did you ever meet any members of Jerry's family?
Nope.
Did you ever hear Jerry discuss his father?
Nope.
When was the last time you saw him?
Maybe a week before he beat on that chick.
And you haven't seen him since?
No. And I wouldn't want to either.
How come?
With all the available chicks around here, who wants to run with a guy that gets it that way? That's a bummer.
I hear he reads a lot.
What the hell do these look like? Everybody reads a lot here.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But I'm only interested in one particular book. Have you ever seen him reading the 7 Minutes or discussing it?
Oh, you're sounding like a pig. Like a stinking pig. Fuck off!
The services of Father Safati, one of the 2 priests directly in charge of the Sacred Index, has been offered as a leading witness for your prosecution. Father Safati is prepared to make public all the classified information the church has on the infamous book and its equally infamous author. Do you wish him as a witness for the prosecution? Yes, Your Eminence. I must have him. When do you want him in here? Within 3 days. 4 at the most. I will notify the Vatican. Father Safati will be here. And the Lord will bless our cause.
I'm Olivia St. Clair, president of the Oakwood chapter, Strength Through Decency League. Most of you already know that our president has called for a citizens' crusade against obscenity, both in print and in pictures. And that's just what the STDL is trying to implement. Our work was never more important than it is today. The fact
Why the big rush? It's not exactly like you're the guest of honor. Hey, there's someone I know. Maggie, how are you?
Good to see you, Faye.
Oh, forgive me. Meet my fiancé, Maggie Russell, Michael Barrett.
How do you do? I thought I recognized you.
You mean those terrible newspaper pictures do me justice?
I happen to have a special interest in your case.
Concerted, hard-hitting action. And by that, I mean vigorous, positive enforcement of existing obscenity
We'd better grab a
laws
seat.
all over the country. And
see you around, Maggie.
courageous Americans, like our guest of honor today, to do the enforcing. It is now with the greatest of pleasure that I give you our county's distinguished and eminent district attorney, Mr. Elmo Duncan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Glad you all could make it. Mrs. St. Clair has asked me to say a few words on the subject of pornography as related to our permissive society. I cannot think of a subject which is more relevant. There is virtually no area that remains untainted by the quick buck artists who pander to our lowest forms of taste, and the public be damned. Just the other evening, my first night off in weeks, I decided to take my wife, Mary, and our 3 children to the movies.
In our neighborhood, we had such subject material as rape, lust, motorcycle gangs, homosexuals, lesbianism,
take a walk. I'll be
drug
right back.
abuse, you name it. Whatever happened to the movies we used to be able to take our children to?
Remember to tell me what I missed.
The films that offered real movie stars. Like the charming lady seated to my left, Miss Constance Cumberland.
Never in the history of our great nation has there been such a proliferation of obscene material on the screen, the magazine racks, and the bookshelves.
Miss Russell, while I had a chance, I wanted to have a few words with you about your relatives, the Griffiths. Faye mentioned your relationship with Jerry.
And?
Well, she said you were very close to him.
We're not only relatives, we're friends. I'm prepared to defend Jerry against anyone who wants to hurt him.
Well, I have no reason to hurt Jerry. My interest in him is merely professional. You see, from what I know about juvenile delinquency, I'm not convinced that reading matter alone can be held responsible for antisocial acts. I was hoping we'd have a chance to talk